Let's go ahead and dive into post-production in V-Ray 5 and explore how we can do light mixing and compositing to further improve our renders. I've opened up the scene I'll be using for a production render here. First, let's explore a crucial setup step before we can do light mixing in V-Ray 5. For a quick background, when a light mix render element is added before rendering, the intensity and color of the lights and light-emitting materials can be changed directly from the VFB, both during and after rendering. This enables you to easily experiment with a wide variety of moods and lighting styles in one convenient location, without having to navigate to individual light parameters or needing to re-render your image. To set up your scene for light mixing, head to the Render Elements dropdown in the Asset Editor and add the Light Mix render element. Then, in the right-hand flyout menu, just make sure you've set the Group By parameter to the mode of your choice in order to specify how to group the lighting information. In this case, I'll group the lights by layers so that the lighting information for each layer is stored in a separate channel. Now that I've added the Light Mix render element, I could also add any other render elements I normally work with from here, and then when ready, do a production render. Alright, once the render is complete, we are ready to do some light mixing. To get started, you'll see that in the layer editor, I have selected the source layer, and then in the properties down below, I have already switched over to the light mix mode. As a result, you'll see below that we have a bunch of different light channels here that represent all of the layers of lights that I had in the scene, since I set the mode to group by layers. To begin, let's press the checkbox next to the All button to turn off all of the lights in our image, so that we can begin to build up our image's lighting from scratch. I'll start by enabling the Rest channel, which contains all the lights that do not fit into the other groups or individual channels, plus the atmospheric effects. As you can see, it contains an atmospheric fog in our scene. Going forward, let's enable a couple of layers of lights, starting with the dome light, which is self-explanatory. Then let's enable the Rhino document sun, and then the city fill lights, which you'll see are helping to brighten up the scene a bit. Finally, I'll enable the self-illumination channel, which gives us all of the neon-looking city lights. Now that we have some light to work with, let's make some tweaks. I'll start by decreasing the multiplier value for the self-illumination to 0.5, and then also bring down the dome light value to 0.65. Decreasing these multiplier values will make the lights look dimmer, whereas increasing the multiplier makes them look brighter. Bringing these down a bit is helping to give the scene a bit more contrast. Next, I'm going to click on the color swatch for the city fill lights and make some changes to the hue. If I give this a darker purplish blue color, you'll see that the lights update in nearly real time, giving us a quick preview as we find a color that suits the image. Alright, that's working for me. Now our image is already looking more interesting, with just these few tweaks we've made to create a more dynamic and contrasty look and feel, without any need to re-render the image. Next, let's take a look at how we can do some compositing in the new layer editor to take our post-processing even further. At this point, we can either leave our light mix changes behind and start compositing with the original rendered image, or in this case, we can press the To Composite button here to send our light mix changes to the compositor so we can expand on the tweaks we made already. Now, you'll see that beneath the source composite layer, we have a folder containing all of our light mix changes as render elements, in case we'd like to make any further adjustments to those layers. Let's go ahead and twirl up this folder here and explore how we can do some color corrections on a single render element, as well as our whole image here. The new layer tree-based editing system allows us to do all sorts of nuanced color corrections, as well as set blending modes, and even combine render elements right here in the VFB. The layer system applies corrections from the bottom to the top, meaning layers on top of the stack are considered in the foreground, and the result of all layers below it is considered the background. To do some color corrections, I'm going to right-click on the source composite layer, and in the new layer menu, select Render Element. This will put a render element layer above our light mix folder. The layer is set by default to the RGB color render element, but we can switch the element to whatever we want to do color corrections on. I'm going to switch this to the reflection render element. Now, since the element's blend mode is already set to add, you'll see right away that the reflections pop out quite a bit. This is a bit too strong now for my taste, so let's lower the opacity down until we have something that feels more balanced. Great! Next, if we right-click on the reflection layer, we can apply color corrections directly to it. For example, let's add a new curves correction layer. Now, you'll see that a curves layer has appeared above the reflection layer, with a downward pointing arrow next to it. This indicates that the curves are applied only to its parent, the reflection layer, rather than to the entire image. As a result, we can make isolated color corrections to the reflections without affecting any other layers. The curves allow you to remap image colors using a Bezier curve, as well as save and load ACV curve files from Adobe Photoshop. To demonstrate, we can select a point and then click and drag on its handles to affect the shape of the curve. You'll see the image updates as well when we make adjustments, showing us the effect of our changes. Alright, now you've got the fundamental idea of how to do compositing in the VFB and tweak render layers. Of course, you can take these concepts further in your own scenes, for example, by applying some color corrections to the entire image as well. Now, I'd also like to show you how layer tree presets work in V-Ray 5, which allow you to save and load in changes as presets that you've made using the layer editor. If you'd like to save or load in a preset, first open up the VFB settings and head to the Layers tab. Here we can set the preset's path, which will give us quick access to any layer tree preset files that have been saved at this location. I'll paste the path I've set up in advance and make sure to hit Save and Close. Now, let's head to the Save Layer Tree Preset icon and save our composite corrections. Now, we could reload these same color corrections for any image, so long as it was rendered with the exact same render elements that are saved with the preset. You can also easily save universal presets that exclude any composite or light mix corrections if you only add and/or modify layers above the source layer in the editor. Next, if I click on this icon over here, you'll see that I can get quick access to all of the custom layer tree presets I've placed in that folder location. I've prepared a few presets in advance, which we can preview when I hover my mouse over them. You'll see that each preset here can have a dramatic impact on the mood and appearance of the image, allowing you to get as creative as you want with your renders in post-production. Altogether, using the light mixer and compositor makes it possible to go beyond rendering and get polished, beautiful-looking images, all within the new V-Ray 5 VFB. And when you're all finished with compositing, just don't forget to save your render out of the VFB by clicking on the Save icon.